So somebody was asking on YouTube about, rather not asking, they were making a statement about tall people liking their height and liking to be called tall. And I can't speak for all tall people. And so if you know any tall people, make sure you share this with them so that they can weigh in on how they feel about this. But for me personally, I didn't like my height. I didn't like my height. Now you have to understand, I will say I grew tall very, very early. Like I'm fine with my height now, but like I was 5'10" at 10 years old. Think about that. I was taller than the average man as a 10-year-old. And then over the next couple of years, by the time I reached 14, I was 6'8". And therefore I was taller than everybody. Like, and it would only be till later that I found out I technically come in at 0.1% of the population, right? So, like, as far as height goes, so it's like there's not that very many people around my height, and definitely not a lot of people taller than me. I have met them, but it's very rare occurrence, right? And I've met people as tall as me, and that's also pretty rare occurrence. It happens enough where, like, I'm aware that there's other tall people out there, but it's just one of those things. Is like I think a lot of people don't understand how you feel when you're actually tall versus people looking at tallness and assuming how we feel. I think it's very similar to how when people are beautiful or they have pretty privilege or they have handsome privilege, whatever the case is, and you have these ideas of how you think they think or what they think about themselves. And oftentimes it's not the case, right? It's just usually not the case. Like I've met women who are beautiful, but they have body dysmorphia. They're not beautiful to themselves. They don't like their body. They don't like how they look. Their face is not as good as they think it should look, even though they're stunning. And so it's one of those things that I think I sort of had that issue because all I wanted to do was fit in. Like all I wanted to do is fit in with everybody else. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be regular. I wanted to be able to go to the store, get clothes that would actually fit me. I wanted to be able to go get shoes that would fit me. And I wanted to be able to have a couple pair of shoes. And part of that wasn't necessarily because I was just tall, but it's also because my parents were very, very poor, right? So I couldn't afford to get stuff. And even if when we could afford, it was very hard to find stuff that fit. And so I had quite a hard childhood wanting to fit in and never being able to fit in. Later on in life, I learned it was okay not to fit in, and I'm okay with not fitting in anymore. But you have to understand, for the most humans, first 10, 20 years of their life, you're just trying to find your group. You're trying to find where you fit in. And I ended up finding basketball, and becoming an athlete was the closest thing to fit in that I ever felt. And that wasn't necessarily true to who I really was on the inside of who I wanted to be, but it was the first time I felt what it was like to fit in, and found out it was very overhyped. Like, not overhyped, shall I say. I wanted it so bad, not realizing that once I had it, it wasn't what I thought it was. And so now I'm very okay with standing out, and I stand proudly. But for a lot of people, I hope you understand, just because you assume or think a person sees themselves or sees a trait they have a certain type of way, it doesn't necessarily mean they do. And just because you crave to have that, like you may crave to have my tallness, you may crave to have my experience because you have this fantasy about what you think my experience is, does not mean that it's actually my experience. And so I urge people to think a lot more about other people's situations that they're not in, that they think are better than they are, because everything comes with pros and cons. Height, money, all kinds of things. And so I just wanted to speak to that. But I hope y'all really think about that. Give me y'all, weigh in the comments for me on what y'all think about that. And if y'all have any similar experiences.